would you say folk singer-songwriter or pop singer-songwriter or just singer-songwriter in general?
I would say it's more of like an indie pop rock type.
Rock's definitely in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely could have said that.
There's definitely some basis in that.
Yeah. Tyler, Alexis, how are you doing?
Doing great. I mean, all things considering.
All things considered, we can talk about that for sure because so we met in California when I lived there for a year, just trying to meet musicians around town and things like that through a mutual friend, Jeremy Bailey, who was a drummer that I was talking to about potentially managing me and all that stuff. But we did a show together, and then I came back here because I came from Cincinnati, and then I moved to California, and then just her work, my fiance's work, moved her back home after that year. But I met some awesome people like you, and it was great. So that is the good stuff about California that I got out of California. But I want to talk to you about. Did you go? You went to Hawaii? Is that right?
Yeah, I did.
Did I see that?
I did. I moved to Hawaii for a couple months.
Wow, you moved there. Okay, so it wasn't just like I'm going to go there. Did you know how long you were going to be there when you left?
Initially, it was only going to be 2 months and then kind of play it by ear. The place that my friends were living at, because they had a room come available, they were kind of waiting to find out if their place was going to be foreclosed or something. Not because it was in disrepair or anything, but just because something about payments. But it was fine. But I learned very quickly that you kind of need to have a car in Hawaii to get anywhere and do anything. And like we were pretty landlocked and in a residential zone. So I would have had to commit a bit more to stay longer term and buy a car out there. And I was just like, oh, this is...
How was that? Because that was during the pandemic, correct?
Yeah. That was...
How was that?
It was fine.
Insane. Oh, really?
Honestly, it was so mellow. So like there was a quarantine, a mandatory 2-week quarantine, anybody that came to the island. So it kept a lot of tourists away, which was great because a lot of the spots that are normally like overrun with people just like had nobody there.
Wow.
So that was like really awesome. What wasn't awesome was, of course, you have less restaurants, you have less like shops were like just starting to open. Like some places like we're finding out that we're not actually coming out of that. And
so it was soon.
Yeah. So it was kind of an interesting, but it was nice because it was just like there was like nobody there.
Right.
So it was great.
Were you looking for places to play, like gigs and stuff like that, or?
I had started, I mean, I had thought about it because I was borrowing my friend's guitar out there and we were talking about doing some shows, but apparently like same thing with things were literally just starting to open up. So even the places that were doing live music, which was very few, they were like either booked up or like not paying or whatever it was. And which is obviously like, it depends, but it was just one of those things where I ended up focusing more on working within the home, especially because I didn't have a car. So I did more stuff at home, music wise than I did.
A lot of writing and stuff.
Yeah, actually,
for sure.
Ton of writing.
Are you going to get that stuff down or? Hoping to, I guess, at some point.
So I was starting to prep to get ready for recording, and I'd like bought Logic Pro and everything. I did the whole bundle, and my computer crashed in the middle of my time being there. I literally had like 3 or 4 weeks left, and that was also a primary reason why I came back, is because there is no Apple Store on Hawaii, and I wanted, which to be fair, I came back and they were all closed too, so I ended up having to order one anyways. But I was a little nervous with things taking a long time to get to the island. I was worried that it wouldn't get there in time, so I just waited until I got back. But my computer crashed like literally a week after I downloaded Logic.
Wow.
And I was like, well, that's not what's happening.
So were you like after 2 months, you were like, I can't do this for that much longer, I'm just going to go back home? Was it 2 months or 3 months, did you say?
So I was there for 2 months total.
2 months, okay.
It was like a mixture of things. Originally, I was the only person that was supposed to be moving in there. Then they had a friend that had to emergency move out of their place, and he was like chilling in our lanai for 2
Huh.
months. So it was like
Weird.
one of those things where I think he was just waiting to be in my room, and I was like,
Right.
well, I'm not gonna get a car out here. Like, I'm not ready to make that
Yeah.
level of commitment. As much as I loved living in Hawaii, and I'm like
Sure.
constantly like going, why did I leave?
I'm just sitting here going, okay, was that amazing? Wasn't
Oh
it
my god,
beautiful?
it
Like,
was gorgeous, and like
'cause it
I
was
think
during
my
summer,
favorite,
right?
yeah, and I think my favorite part was being able to just like the water was almost perfect
Mhm.
temperature, and like you could just there was like really interesting dives and stuff. Like you could go under and like swim under
Right.
what do you call them? Like arches and stuff. Like it was just really
Little
cool and
coves or
interesting.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like lots of exploration. Like the hikes
Yeah.
were really awesome. If I had a car, I would have been able to take much more advantage of it.
Right.
But
Oh,
like
yeah. I
it's just
bet
yeah, that
I
was
bet
why.
I bet mentally you really needed that.
Dude, honestly, like I had
And
just
it
gotten out of a
yeah.
breakup and like literally a week after that, my friend was like, "Hey, you want to come live in Hawaii?" And I was like, "Yes,
Weird.
I do. I'll
That's
be
crazy.
there."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really cool.
It was like it was
Um,
perfect timing because it was just like
yeah,
I didn't have
that's
a job because of COVID. I was in between
right,
places because craziness with that, and like I just out of a relationship,
right.
just was perfect timing. So it was
Yeah, well, that's
much needed.
yeah. Well, are you happy to be back or,
Oh,
happy in some
absolutely.
aspects and, yeah.
Absolutely. Like I'm closer to friends here, which is nice. We can do like social distance hangout.
Mhm.
I have all my stuff move forward with like the whole green screen virtual pop-ups that I'm doing, the pop-up events, and then
Right.
just like try to get into recording, try to, like I just have so much to do that
Yeah,
with all my stuff being here in LA. It would have been a big commitment to have to like
sure.
ship everything out there.
Oh, yeah, to move your entire life an island.
Yeah, island life is no joke. Like it's a
Yeah.
commitment.
Yeah, if
So,
you're in, you're all the way in, I'm telling you, but
truth,
I want to ask you, and we can get into this a little bit later, but
of course.
about the virtual campfires, is that what they are?
So that was actually my first event. The idea is the
Okay,
event changes every month. I'm not doing one
cool.
this month just because I want to be able to start focusing on some of the like recording that I've been putting off, and then also just get other things ready. And then it's holiday season, so I
Yeah,
figured the next one's just going to be like in between like Christmas and New Year's, and just do like an end of year party.
mm,
Um, but every event's supposed to be different. The idea is every month will be different.
mhm,
The first one was our virtual camp out, and that was really fun. And we did like I had a fake fireplace
yeah,
playing on my old computer, which is now like only good for being a fireplace. And then like
perfect.
stuff like hot
Yeah,
hot cider and stuff like that. And the idea is just to like escape from what our world is right now and
yeah,
just make it more fun to have like because I play music on it, but I thought honestly like I'm all for the virtual concerts, but I genuinely feel like they're very similar to live streams, which yes, a concert's a little bit better, and usually people would do like a whole thing
mhm,
for it, but like I don't know, I get bored, and I think there's so much that can
totally.
be done when you have virtual opportunities. So I learned how to do
Right.
green screen. Like just like
Yeah,
literally you can see that my bedding is green. I
right.
literally am just using like
Wow.
old sheets to
Yeah. No, I totally get you. I started because I remember when this thing started, literally every single person I knew was live streaming
everyone.
all the time, and
Everyone.
I was like, "Okay, but everyone else is doing it, so why are they gonna tune into mine?" You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
when everyone else is doing it. But it
Exactly.
it really and as performers, part of it is we want live audience reaction. You know what I mean? Like, I
Right.
really, really, really miss that. Cannot wait for it to come back
No
so
kidding.
much. But
No kidding.
yeah, I did it consistently for a little bit, but then I kinda let it fade, and it's been so long. It's been
It's been
what
a long
it's been
fucking
a long
quarantine.
time. Something that people were like, "Yeah, it's gonna pass in a couple weeks," and then here we are. And,
No.
what what's
Yeah,
your
so that was kind of the idea is
yeah,
I like looked at everybody live streaming and I was like, what makes me special?
right.
And I was like, nothing. Nothing. We're all doing the same thing.
Well,
I'm
it's
like,
from
okay,
the
so then
outside. It's like what
right.
you want them to look like because on the outside, you're just another musician live streaming. Whether you're good or not
Exactly.
is they're not really thinking about it. They're just like, "Okay,"
No.
from the outside, and now with you doing all these virtual, getting more creative. They're like, oh, that looks much cooler than just a regular musician playing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was the hope.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, no, that was the hope, and
Good.
to make something that was worth paying for. Because again, the live
Yes.
streams are literally so similar to the virtual concerts that I'm like, well, if you can get the live stream for free, then why would you pay for the concert? With the exception of supporting your favorite bands and everything.
Sure.
Obviously, that's like a whole thing. But again, like I didn't feel comfortable charging somebody for something that I was doing all the time anyway.
Yeah, it's the whole thing, but it's not gonna yield a lot of as much money as you are making gigging. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh God,
people are
nothing does.
people they'll leave it like a tip jar. It's basically like a.
Mhm.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
do you see a lot of like what's the gig life down there? Is it starting to ramp back up or?
It is starting very, very slowly. The problem is we have so many musicians, so the places that are open are like already booking up like
Sure.
for months. I just actually this last weekend. So this was last weekend? Yeah. Oh my God. I booked a private gig and I booked a restaurant or like a winery gig.
Yeah.
So I had 2 gigs in one weekend, and that was like insane because I went from like having nothing and only doing like Twitch and
Right.
Instagram and Facebook to like a it was supposed to be a 4-hour gig on Saturday. It turned into
Right.
like 8 hours total, but like obviously I wasn't playing all of that. And then a
Right.
3-hour gig on Sunday.
Real
So
life
I was
people,
like,
man. Yeah.
my hand was like cramped up. Like I couldn't
Oh,
even like
man.
close it for 2 days.
Yeah. The
I
first
had to
thing
have
to
my roommate
go
open a jar.
that's so fun. The first thing to go is your stamina, I'm telling you. After, like, the second or third
It's
hour, I'm like,
true.
"This is exhausting. Why did I do this?"
It's
But,
so true.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had the same thing where I'd booked 2 Saturdays in a row of weddings, and they just happened to be back to back in October, and it was,
Oh,
like,
wow.
amazing because weddings and
Right.
wineries are great too. I love playing
Ah,
wineries.
love
But
it.
something about, like, those types of events where, like, everyone's happy and positive and, like, my last wedding, they had to do it because the grandparents were super old and they weren't sure if they were gonna so they
Oh,
couldn't push it back, and I was just like, "Oh my
right.
god." So let's everyone be safe, you know?
Right. Oh my
Be
God.
super safe, but,
You're
like
like, they made it to the wedding, but then
I know, I
that's
know.
terrifying.
Which well,
Or like put
hopefully
them
it
in a
gave them.
box somewhere.
Yeah, hopefully it
Sorry.
gave them more reason to be safe, the entire day,
Right.
but,
Oh
um
man.
so I was gonna ask about, are you visiting family in the holidays or what's that look like for you?
That's a good question. Well, my
Or
mom
does
lives
it even look like
local.
okay,
So my plan is to kind of stay kind of quarantined, maybe a week or two prior to the holidays, and then just actually spend some time with her. I
good.
think.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good. That's the
but
way
yeah.
that, we would all want it, I'm sure.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the ideal, and I like obviously want to play it safe with that because that would be awful. So,
Oh, yeah.
um, but luckily I don't have to do any like plane traveling or anything. Um, this won't be the year that we visit family other places. So.
Oh, man, yeah, and if, I was were you, in that 2-week quarantine, were you tested? Did you get tested at
No,
all?
no, I did
Okay,
not.
so it was just
I didn't
quarantining.
actually. My first test was coming after I got back. Um, and I did a voluntary quarantine when I got back to the States, just because, like, the only
Time to
people I'm
go.
going to come in contact with are my friends, and I don't
Right,
want to
yeah.
get them
No.
sick. Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why would
Yeah,
I chance that? So I did a 2-week quarantine in house. I wore a mask, like walking around, so I didn't like
sure.
affect my roommates. And then once I got through that, then it was like I still technically was quarantined because nobody was no one was
Right,
doing
yeah.
anything, but it was still like, and it was good because it like what's great about quarantine is you have the excuse to like stay home and like just work and just get
Yeah.
stuff done and like build or
Yeah.
figure things out. Like it was like I don't know
It's
why it's never really an issue for
No,
me.
it's just it's weird because it is like because you see those people who are like, you should come out of this quarantine, so much better at what your craft and all that stuff. Part of me
It's
just
true
wants to.
though.
It is true, and trust me, I'm a homebody. I'm an introvert. I love this quarantine that's happening, but after a while, it can mess with your brain.
Oh,
Uh,
100%. I'm
for
like
sure.
lonely as fuck.
Which is a great song.
It's
Lonely as fuck.
I should
All the
write a song
time.
about that. It's true. No, it's very true.
Totally.
It's like as much as and like even before quarantine. So before quarantine, I would like go to work,
Yeah.
and then I'd come home and I'd work on music stuff all night long, and like maybe I would talk to people, but I really didn't have much of a social life, which made me really regret like not
Right.
because like being in quarantine, I was like, oh,
because once it's taken
that
away,
opportunity
like,
is gone
yeah.
now. Although
So
ironically, I feel like with how my life has been this year, I've moved around and seen more people than I did
right.
last year, just
Yeah,
because I had to move around so often.
right, and you have to make a solid plan ahead of time if we're gonna see people now.
Dude, right?
Um, yeah, yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's true. It's like it's good to have all this time, but the
right.
lack of in-person connection is really difficult and really intense. So
Yeah,
yeah.
especially in our field, I feel
Mm.
really sadly for Broadway, you know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
things
no
like
kidding.
that, because I
Because
remember
Broadway's
in
never the same on
right.
virtual. Like the whole thing is being there.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly, and I remember, I think it was in, like, the 2nd month, I think it was in April, they were like, "Guys, we can't do this anymore, sorry, it's cutting into our costs," and it was really, "Okay, how do we get through this? How do we do this now?" But,
yeah, it's
but
not the time for large productions
no.
anymore. It's gonna be
But,
another year, I think.
yeah, right? And people are I hope people don't get you know, as soon as the year turns over, it's gonna be all better. That's not how it's gonna happen. I mean, it's
God no,
it's it's
not
it's
for us.
really no, 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 no.
Not for anyone in the entertainment industry.
No, man. Ugh. But, have you been trying out anything like TV film licensing or sync licensing or writing or anything like that? Or are you looking at other ways to make money with music?
I should. Like it was funny because
Okay.
I was having that thought. I think that's what I want to do for January. I think what I want to do is do like a challenge of um every genre, because I was thinking about this, like, what do you do for January? There's nothing really in January if that's a
Right.
time to do stuff. And I was watching a show, and I like to watch shows with subtitles, like a crazy
Yeah.
person. But I just like I sometimes audio wise, I like miss people's what they say sometimes, so it's easier
Uh-huh.
for me to like just be able to like reference real quick. Um, but I saw like it was like electronic music playing like in the background. I was like,
Right.
oh, you know what I should do is like literally think of like every type of show and try
Right.
to write a song for every type of show, like an interior design show or
Right.
whatever, or like every genre or whatever. So like just do some sort of challenge just to like try it out, and if anything comes from it, and then if anything good comes
Yeah.
out of that, then like license that. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I've definitely focused more on the virtual event thing,
Sure.
and hoping to also transition into recording.
Yeah. Yeah. At
And
some point.
then uh and then private parties,
Private parties,
which I
man.
can also do virtually.
Yeah.
So
Have you
I'm
done any of
hoping to
those?
do either or. So right now I've just been doing the ones for my own whatever, but I literally could do that and then
Right.
just have them booked out as a private party, and
Hmm.
then change the theme based on
Right.
literally anything.
Yeah.
like,
Literally. Yeah.
like, I mean, I just keep hold of all the things that I've built so far. Like I built that whole haunted library scene, and so now I
Right.
have that as a go-to. I don't
Oh,
know.
there you go. That's
It's
cool.
just
So the last time I don't remember, I want to go back and talk about you because I don't think I know this about you, how you got started or when you got started. And was it, were you interested in writing songs or were you doing covers first? Because I started doing covers and then you kind of learn other people's voices and then eventually it morphs into your own voice. I feel like I'm still having trouble finding my own voice. That's really hard as a songwriter. But
I
how did it,
definitely agree.
yeah, how did it start for you?
Um, so I guess, well, obviously I started doing music from a very, very young age. Like my mom
Mhm.
always says I was singing in the crib before I could even
Sure.
speak type
Yeah.
thing. So music is always a thing for me. But before I made it like an actual career, um, in college, I had decided because I had gone in for a different major, and before I even started college, I was like, no, I'm going to do music. And
Right.
like, now's the time, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I was like, you know, I'd rather do it when I'm young and then find out it doesn't work and then move on or something.
Yeah.
Because I've always, like, growing up in LA, you're hyper aware of just the possibility that you're not gonna be the next
A
person, like,
musician?
yeah, like, or just anything, like anything successful
I'm sure there
in the industry.
yeah. That's
It's a
true.
really competitive world, and you grow up realizing that a lot of people move here and they don't do well, like, they don't
I'm
make
sure at a
it,
young
so to
age you're
speak.
like yeah, I was just talking about this in my last episode, but you know, to be 1% of the 1%, that's what people are inspired by. It's like the
Mhm.
Adam Levines of the world, Maroon
Right.
5, and like pop stars are like 1% of 1%. And I'm sure growing up in you know in LA,
Mhm.
you were seeing all these people just like you said, and then you're realizing that not everyone has makes the dream come true,
Right.
which not
Definitely
everyone
not.
can, obviously, but to stick with it, that means you must have really loved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that was the thing, like, I every time I tried to stop playing music, I would just get, like, really depressed and
Yeah.
really unhappy, and even then, like, so I did it in college, and I didn't graduate with a music major. I actually ended up switching just because I was like, "Well, I'm not in college to be a musician." Like, you don't need a
Right.
degree to be a
Yeah.
musician, like, at all. You
Right.
need a degree for other jobs to
Yeah.
support you being a musician. So I just, like, I gave up on that and was like, I need to just get a base degree and, like, do
Yeah.
that. And I was doing, like, what do you call them? Open mics and that kind of
Mhm.
thing every week for a while when I was in college. I had one that I regulared at, and I learned a lot about just performing, like, standing instead of sitting type thing, having
There's
things memorized, not having sheet
oh,
music and
man,
shit,
there
like
is
all
just
of the basic stuff.
right,
Like,
but just by doing those open mics, you can learn so much
right, right,
just
exactly.
by
So that was
doing the weekly
great.
open mic, yeah.
And then I went into the workforce and I was, like, super big on, like, I wanna move out and I wanna have my own place, and
There
I,
you go.
you know, like, doing the adult
Yeah.
thing when you get out of college, like, that's all you wanna do, and
Right.
so that's what I focused on. I got a full-time job, and then I moved out, and then I realized you need more than a full-time job to live in LA, so
Oh,
I
man.
got another job, and then I got another job, so I was working, like, 3 jobs at some
Wow.
point, and oh, yeah, and that's really typical. So,
That's,
like,
where did you go to college?
I went
I
to
know
Pepperdine University in,
okay.
Malibu. So, it was close to
Wow.
home and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was nice.
You grew up in
Um,
Malibu or near Malibu?
Near Malibu. I was in, Woodland Hills,
Ugh,
Calabasas area.
man, that must have been just awful growing
Oh,
up
it's
in
terrible.
Malibu.
How yeah, it was
Well,
awful.
Hawaii, then, you know, you're going to Hawaii, then you're just like, "Hi, I'm back in Malibu."
There's a lot of back and forth between Hawaii and
Are
Malibu
there?
people, I
Yeah,
think.
is
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
Well, but most people there have a lot of money, and we were not part of that.
Oh, no.
I grew
Well,
up,
but
like, in nice areas because my mom wanted to make
yeah,
sure I went to, like, good
right.
schools and stuff, but,
Yeah,
uh
but like you're saying, the 2 to 3 job thing is so must be so common.
Oh, yeah, in
Just
LA, it's
having
really
come from
common.
there. Yeah, just having come from there and, you know, I lived 27 years in the Midwest and then going to LA, you're like, "Oh, okay, everything's twice as much. Got it. Got it." Including
I look
gas, including
I look
everything.
at house prices and
Yeah.
prices of, uh, rentals and stuff in other places, and I'm like, is this a scam? Is this real? Like, this isn't real, right? This isn't
Yeah, no.
actually the price,
This
right?
isn't
That's
God,
like a
yeah.
3-bedroom for the same price I can get a studio
Right?
here.
Location, man, I'm telling
Like
you.
like, what? I've thought about moving so many times, I can't even tell you.
Would
And
you
I might,
say yeah.
especially with all of this, but I'm waiting for the election and then I'll find out.
Hey, it's looking good. Not to say anything
We'll
about
see. I know
politics,
I can't, like, don't say anything. I don't wanna jinx
but
anything.
CNN is on in the background, that's all I'm saying.
Oh
Uh,
my god, how are you not stressed right now?
I'm really not anymore. Not anymore.
Really?
I'm
It's
fine,
been,
but
like, 4 days of me, like, trying to not look, and then, like, once in a while being like, "Well, I wonder if they
yeah,
figured it
I
out
know, and
yet."
then it's just like you'll
Known
wake up
by
at
now.
3 you'll wake up at 3 in the morning and just like, "Oh, I gotta know. Ah, damn it." But
Yeah, I had,
again,
like,
they're
ugh.
it's gonna last another 3 or 4 days, so it's whatever,
You
but
think so? I'm like, how
well
many times can they recount the ballots?
they're gonna what I just heard is that
It's for the mail?
in Pennsylvania, there were about, like, 30,000 were, like, didn't match or whatever, so they had to resend them out to get them
Whoa.
confirmed by, like, a judge or something. So they're not gonna start counting those 30,000 in Pennsylvania until, like for in like 45 minutes, and that could take another couple days. So could last until next week, early next week. It's so weird.
Wow. This is the most intense
Yeah, I'll say
election
it's the most
ever.
heightened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like tension must be, or tension is
Well, I'd
very
rather them take the
high.
time for sure and like just get it right.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you mail in or early?
I always get a mail-in vote, but I always drop the ballot off at the
Right.
polls. So that's like my thing. Like I never mail it out in time. I'm always like, well, I may not get there in
Yeah.
time. So I just like literally just fill it out and then like go in and drop it off. It's like the
Yeah.
easiest process
Oh
ever. I
yeah.
like walked by the lines, although there were no lines this time, which was a little
Ah,
concerning. I assume everyone just voted early,
yes.
or by mail. I don't know.
I have a thing about going in, although I went in the day before and early voted.
Mhm.
But I have a thing, it just makes me feel good to go into the place and be
Yeah.
like, "Hell yeah, man, voting for this guy," and all look at the ballot, and because it's just like an energy there I like,
Mhm. I
but
agree.
yeah,
It's nice.
especially
It's
this year.
you feel like you're doing your civic duty.
Yeah.
You feel
Now,
proud.
have you ever done, this is weird off topic, but hey, we can do that. So, have you ever done, jury duty or anything like that? Have you
I
been involved?
have. I
Whoa.
did.
Did
Yeah.
you get on a case?
I did. I got called in and I got actually put on the jury, and it was just it was like an insurance thing. They
Oh,
were like they didn't want to pay for this guy's like medical stuff. It was a whole thing. I don't know if I can
that's
talk about it,
that's
but
boring. Give me a murder, man.
I was hoping for that. I keep waiting. Like fingers crossed. I want to be on that next murder one. Like I
Yeah,
would be so like I'd be terrible, but like I'm
yeah.
so I was like I've never been against doing jury duty. I've always wanted to do it, but it's always been like whenever they've asked me to, it's always like the worst timing. Like that time I tried to let them know that I had like had work and I like
Uh-huh.
couldn't. And he was like, "Well, what school district do you work for?" I'm like, "Well, I work for a charter, so I don't know what that's like." He's
Oh,
like, "Well, what one?" And I was like, "Well, I guess it's part of LAUSD because we shared a campus and we had some rules." But what I didn't
right.
realize is they were apparently LAUSD covers like they pay you for jury duty, whereas my
Whoa.
work did not. so
Oh, okay.
so that was shitty because I like
That is shitty.
had worked like it was like summer school and like there was
Right.
only 4 weeks of summer school and it was like one of the weeks out of that and I was like,
Ugh.
could you not have been the week before where we had it off or
So
like
was this, so back, how long ago was this? Was this,
oh this was I don't know like 2017
okay.
probably.
Interesting.
I'm trying to think of when. But I did it in Santa Monica, which wasn't so bad.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Yeah, we got to like
Uh,
they give you like an hour for lunch, and it's pretty
cool.
mellow.
Cool.
Just
Yeah, the thing is weird, like, if you're self-employed, I mean, they
yeah.
must be kind of like they're looking for you because you can make your own hours kinda deal, right?
You
Or
know,
something like that. I've never been qualified, by the way.
I wasn't self-employed at that point.
Got it. Okay.
I was working at a school full time.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It would be I feel like it'd be easier. I think they would just pay you though for the time. Like they do pay you. It's just like it's like $1 a day or something like that. Like, or
What? Come on.
$15 a day, something like that. It's like insanely low. Like it's not
Right. It's
gonna help
whatever
you at
minimum
all.
wage for an hour or whatever. It's just like,
Right, exactly. And
come
you're
on,
like, I'm
man.
here
Yeah.
all day.
So after, how long were you doing open mics for? And then were you booking stuff? I mean, you were obviously trying to book stuff
So I took a
while you
break
were
from
doing that.
everything, not intentionally, but when I
Mhm.
started working, I was just working all the time, and so my focus shifted to work and literally just
Sure.
all of that. And so it wasn't until like 2016 I was having this conversation with I had a roommate at the time who was a musician, and I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out like I don't remember what we were at talking about, but I was like, yeah, I just want to like start playing more or whatever. And she's
Mhm.
like, oh, I didn't realize that you were like doing that for a career. Like I thought you
Hmm.
were just doing that for fun. And I was like, oh shit.
I guess I should have told you.
I was like, I need to change something because if people think that, then I'm not going to get hired for things. If they think I'm
Right.
just doing it for fun, like no one takes you seriously. It's hard. It's hard to be taken seriously for something that
Yes.
people do for fun, uh, in
Yeah,
general.
that's so easily a hobby for people.
Right, and
You know
so
what I
when
mean?
I realized that, I was like, "Oh, I need to
Yeah.
change how people view me because I need to be the first person people think of when they think of a
Right.
musician because that's the only way you get, like, anything."
Totally. And then you
S
gotta go out and get, like, book gigs yourself and, like, do all that
Right.
stuff, all the gritty hard work that
Yeah.
nobody does for you that you do for yourself.
Right. Uh-huh,
So was
started
that
just emailing venues
yeah,
and stuff like that. I started
there you
looking
go.
around. I started looking for open mics and shit just to do those, but, like, honestly, it's so hard to find stuff. Like, there's no, like, centralized everything, like, you need to know about LA music scene. Like,
Sure.
you have to it's, like, a lot of word of mouth, and so what I just did is I really just, like, reached out to every person I knew that was slightly even slightly tied to the music industry
Right.
and was like, "Hey, I'm looking like, I want to do more gigs. I want to try to do this, and the other. If you hear of anything or if you know of any places that have live music, like, let me
Right.
know." And then, like, that just started to open doors because people would, like, oh, like, they, like, thought about me and they were like, oh,
Sure.
hey, you know what? I actually heard about this thing. Or, oh, I was just talking to my friend the other day and, like, I
Right.
thought of you and this, whatever. So, like, doors started open there. And I started the whole, like, emailing venues. I
Yeah.
started the whole journey,
Yeah.
eventually sort of put together a band fell apart, like all these things, not like fell apart. People
Well,
people come and
how
go
it
in.
must be insane to put a band together today.
Well, and it wasn't even well, nowadays,
Well,
yeah, but
nowadays, but I'm just talking, like,
in
financially as far as, like and then
right.
booking gigs and getting gigs to pay you enough to make it worth
Well, and I
having
wasn't
4
I mean,
people.
you don't start
How
off making any money at
no.
gigs. That's not
No,
how
no,
that
no.
works.
Well, not at all, but,
You
like, a
have to it's like
band
an
gig
internship. You have to do your
sure.
interning before you are good enough to be paid.
How long were you with the band for?
Well, I wasn't with a band. I actually just
Or
had people that were playing with me.
okay.
So it
What
was more
was
that they were
yeah,
friends that were
okay.
like, "Oh, can we do this one? Can you be there for
That's what it
this?"
turns into. It's like, I don't wanna start a full band, but I just like, "Can you come play drums for me? Can
Yeah.
you sit on a box for me?" And just, like,
Exa
do
exactly.
that or
So
whatever?
so I did that for about a year or so and, like, really just started to do more and more, and then as I started to move up, I realized, like, certain things I had to I don't wanna say upgrade, but, like, when people show up because they're your friends, but they show up not prepared or
Right.
like, like you realize, oh, this is where I kind of have to transition because I need to have people that are reliable. And that's when you start
Yes.
paying people. So
That's
that's,
when you
and
start paying people.
right. And that was like a transition that happened a few years in, um, where I started actually doing the work to find like a good drummer, a good bassist, good guitarist to like, that I could
Right.
like trust to know what they're doing
Yeah.
and like, whatever. Not that my friends weren't amazing, but they were busy working
Yeah,
full-time
that's
jobs. They had
true.
families. They had,
Yeah,
it's
no,
like
you almost have to have a you have to get there with yourself and believe in yourself enough as a musician to be like, "Alright, I'm gonna hire an awesome band," like, you know what I mean? And not just settle for people, but there must have been a flip in your head because there was for me when it was like, I feel very confident in doing what I do and going to play this venue or for these people or private event or something like that.
ironically, I think that's been in the last month or 2. Like,
Really?
believe it or not. Yeah, like I
That's
only
great.
recently just like started to realize because I've been doing so much live stream and then of course
Mhm.
so it's like basically like I'm performing almost like 4 times a week
Yeah,
now like in home. Obviously like it's relaxed whatever, but like at
there's no
this
audience.
point, having worked, I don't know, like the last 3 or 4 years on so many things, and there's still a bajillion things I could improve on, but,
Oh,
like,
man.
I finally
Harvesting.
feel like I'm, like, worth
Yeah.
hiring for things, like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's weird.
No, definitely, it's no, you definitely have to get there because a lot of people are because there's, like, benchmarks that you make as a cover musician I started, and then you
Mhm,
start feeling comfortable doing that, and then you write your own stuff, and then you start to get to the point where you're playing your original stuff out, and
mhm.
that's scary on a whole other level.
Yeah,
Um,
what's funny is I started that off almost immediately.
really?
My first Well, like, and I did like growing up, I did, like
Yeah.
musical theater and I did like stuff like that. But when I started gigging or not gigging, but like doing the open mics and stuff, like my first
Mhm.
one was already a mixture of originals and covers.
Right.
Not great anything, but like
Were
I
people
had
responding?
my little book and stuff. Yeah, people. I mean, like I had someone
Good.
come up to me and because I think I was how old was I at the time? I had to have been like God, how old was I? Was it before or it was during? It could have been during the college. No, it was, I had short hair, so it had to been in the middle of college. There was one point where I just cut
Right.
my hair super short, so it's like, oh yeah, it was
Oh, yeah,
then.
got it. Totally.
So I was in college, and it was, like, my first one, so I must have been, like, 20 years old,
Mhm.
and I had someone come up to me, and he was like he was the person putting it together, and he was like, "Obviously, you have some refining to do, but, like,
Oh,
what you've got,
yeah.
like, please keep doing this." And I was
Oh,
like, "Okay,
that's good.
cool."
That's
I mean,
positive.
they were very simple, whatever songs, and
Yeah.
probably if I went back on them, I'd be like, "What?"
I
You
was
know?
like, yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, so I actually, like I started off doing a lot of originals and covers, and then through that whole thing, I
Right.
learned to do a little bit more upbeat covers, and I learned to, like and so now
Totally.
it's always been kind of a mix, which is crazy. In fact, I think this last weekend was the first time I ever did just covers. Um, I've always tried to, like, at least sneak a few in,
Right.
obviously with exception of paid gigs, so,
Yeah, that's always weird because sometimes they'll request that, my like, original stuff from you.
Right.
Um,
It's
but,
very rare though for a paid gig. They're like, "We want,
yeah,
like,
like, "We want,
90s pop."
Frank Sinatra in the background." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh, okay, I
exactly.
can do that."
Exactly.
But, so how are you doing mentally day to day? How's that going for you?
I mean, it's always highs and lows for
Mhm.
sure. I've found over the past that if I can keep my focus on work and, like, doing things, like, if I have something to do, I am generally able to keep myself out of that like, downward spiral of depression and anxiety.
Sure.
Uh,
Smoke well.
and not every day is doable, especially with everything that's happened this year. The beginning of quarantine was really rough,
Mhm.
and took a while to make it out of that. And then, of course, I had to break up, and then
Oh.
it's been crazy. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like, I almost feel like I've managed to mellow everything out to the point where, like, it's like every once in a while I'll have, like, a little bit of sadness, or I'll have a night where I cry
Hmm.
myself to sleep or whatever, or I just have an off
Yeah.
day. But for the most part, it seems I'm able to balance it.
Yes.
And again, that's just by focusing on, like,
Um,
other
keeping
things.
yourself distracted? I mean,
Right. That's really what it is.
kinda, but
'Cause
also
otherwise,
yeah,
if I don't have that, then yeah, I think too
yeah.
much, and there's plenty to be upset about, but there's also plenty
There's
to be
plenty.
happy about.
There
So
is,
it's
you know
not always easy though.
yeah, it's finding the balance and, like, finding like, taking stock in the little in the mini successes, the daily little successes that you have,
Right. That's
especially
what I focus on a
in
lot
the music
lately.
industry, right, yeah. Like, getting one email back that says, "Hey, this sounds great," is like, you
Yes.
know, like, "Oh, I can
Exactly.
go to sleep tonight," you know? Uh, but,
Yeah,
but
basically.
it just gets you through the day, and it's just and again, yeah, keeping yourself distracted is something that I have to at least I have to actively tell myself because I don't always do it, and you just find yourself, like, thinking about everything and,
Yeah.
it's, stressful year 2020.
Yeah, no kidding. There's definitely, like, certain TV shows I haven't been able to watch, or, like,
Yeah,
certain things
yeah.
I've had to stay away from,
Yeah,
just because it is such a fragile, state of mind, especially,
right.
when you really think about it. Like, I've been unemployed for several months now, and I'm not really
Sure.
making much of an income, and, like, everything definitely seems like it's for nothing some days, and it's just like, "Okay, well, you aren't helping yourself if you think of this stuff."
Right.
So
Playing
you're just
music
like
always helps me, seriously.
Yeah, it
Playing
really
or writing,
does.
it gets you I don't know, it's a different, part of my brain, I think, that I go to when I'm writing or playing
I've
even playing.
I think the thing I realized with, performing and with playing music, and I had this realization at one point, that when I would get up on stage, there isn't room for you to have all of those negative thoughts. There's no room for it, because if you
Right.
have that, you will literally ruin your entire
It goes into everything.
performance.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And so it's like it's an active form, like,
Interesting.
performing music is an active form of meditation in that sense, because
Yes.
you have to focus
Mhm.
on music, and music is great. So if you're actively focusing on that, and then you're playing it and you're getting out your feelings or your whatever's going on, then like it's like an active form of uh, what do
Yeah.
you call it? Yeah.
Well, meditation, and
Meditation.
I felt like after writing something, I felt like I was it felt like I blacked out, almost like I kind of like
Yeah, you
seriously,
come
like
to like 15
yeah,
minutes
like I'm
after the
just like,
performance,
whoa,
like
because I wasn't anxious, I wasn't nervous, I was like so confident, and it just, I mean, it takes a while to get there, especially on stage, it's you just got to
that
do
is
it.
its
You just got to
own
do it and do it and do it.
that is its own
And
thing for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
because it's hard because it's like it seeps in
Mhm.
if you're not careful, and it is like, especially I know a lot of artists, we have those internal voices that are really fucking rude.
Fucking rude,
And
man. Get out of here.
rude, they're like, oh
Yeah.
hey, you just hit that note really wrong, or oh you didn't warm up enough, or you did whatever, and you're just sitting there on stage like, can we not
Yeah,
like
I
right
will
now?
have the thing, because a lot of time, I mean, and you'll probably relate to this too, but you'll have to like read the crowd and just play certain songs that'll like, if it's an older crowd, you got to like do the classic rock and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But I'll have this thing where like in my head I'm like, I picked the wrong song. I picked the wrong song, and
Oh,
I'm like already into it, and then I'm like, and then I'm fucking up the song
right, because you're
because
thinking
I'm in
about
my
how much you
head. I'm
should have
like,
done a different song. You just
yeah,
want to stop.
nobody knows the song, you stupid idiot. What are you doing? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
It's
I do that quite a bit with like sometimes I'm still getting better at playing. Like guitar is never like, obviously I learned guitar to play with my voice,
yeah.
but I every once in a while my hands will just like not do what I want them to do. And like there'll be like complicated strumming patterns or whatever, and my hands are seizing up, or I can't do like the chords, and
Yeah,
it's like starts really messing with my brain a lot. And then it's
really.
just like this downward spiral if I don't just like cut it off,
Yeah.
which is its own pet practice.
Yeah. So you learned, because I feel the same way. I am not. I don't want to keep learning guitar. I just want to sing. I just want to do
Yeah.
it so I can sing, and so you know what I mean. And so I can write. I can kind of.
Right.
I just play chords. That's all I do on the guitar. I don't want to learn
Same.
anything else. I don't want to learn
Same.
anything else. You know what I mean? It's just I want to know G, C, and D. It's it.
Yeah, no,
But
that was me for a long time. I've only just started getting into bar chords, which is like great because it opens up the ability to do so many more songs.
yeah,
But they're so hard,
it'll
and
ruin
they're
your hands. Yeah,
yeah.
it'll ruin your. It'll
I'm
get
hoping
you
for
all.
those calluses on the side of the finger type thing soon.
It's weird, man. And then after having not gigged in a while, and you're doing like bar chords like crazy, and your hand is like,
Yeah.
please stop, please stop. Your hand is
Ah.
like,
Do you know
I
what's
got
crazy? It's like I didn't think I used to think that I would never be able to play bar chords. I'm like, my fingers are just too small or whatever.
ah,
And then I'm like, the more I tried, or like the more guitar I play, and I
yeah,
think it might be like a muscle thing. Like it might just like being able to like push down like specifically
right,
whatever muscle that is.
yeah.
It's just become a little bit easier. And so like it gives me a little hope.
Use it or lose it, and
Yeah.
we definitely lost it through COVID and not having done it. But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. Do you have anything that I forget if I asked you this, but do you have anything booked for the rest of the year, or how's that going?
Let's see. I'm actually getting prepped for the holiday season. I've
Uh-huh.
actually just started drafting up all the cover Christmas covers and stuff like that, to just
Right.
have a booklet full of that just
Uh-huh.
ready to go. I'll start probably posting some things just to kind of see if I can book whatever. I do have someone that wants to do the guy that I did the gig with on Saturday, or not with, but for.
Mhm.
He was really stoked on it and wants to do another party ASAP. So fingers crossed on that.
I love it. I
Um,
love word of mouth is amazing. It's like
yeah.
in our industry, it's one of the biggest things.
Oh, absolutely. So nothing like specific, with exception of my end of year thing that I'm putting together. Um, Nothing. I mean, it's holiday season. Holiday
Yeah.
season's kind of weird. So I'm my plans are either both to prep for that, and then just like focus on recordings and stuff, and then any
Nice.
gigs that can start getting booked for either this year or beginning of next year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, definitely. Well, hopefully, yeah, we'll be hearing new stuff from you soon, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Maybe not.
Okay.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. I'm like
Uh,
gonna be going into that soon, hopefully.
yeah.
Like I said, it got kind of postponed because of the whole computer crash, and then having to buy a computer was an extra expense I was not expecting.
I cannot believe that it crashed a week after you had it, man.
Well, not a week after I had it,
So
but a week after I got Logic.
Week after you got Logic, sorry.
Yeah, so I'd had the computer for, like, almost 8 years, to be fair.
Right.
It
Well,
was
there
a
you go.
champ, but I, like it
Like,
was a champ, and I had done
Logic,
luckily, I'd done a back what do you call it?
backup?
Yeah, I did a backup right
Right.
before I left, just
Yeah.
in case. 'Cause I know how computers are.
Yeah.
Um, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it just couldn't handle it. Like, when I was able to take off that, like, I was able to access it through another, through a monitor, like, barely. It was a whole thing.
Jesus, that
Luckily,
sounds
I've
rough.
done quite a bit of computer diagnostics in my life, and I
Right.
used to do that, and so I was
Yeah.
able to at least, like, figure out kind of what it would be, and it wasn't something that would have been worth fixing at
Right.
this point, but, I was
Yeah.
able to get everything off of it, and then now it functions just as, like, secondary
Sure.
fireplace.
Right. Yeah.
Like, really it. Really
Nice,
it.
nice. Well, thank you for being here. We're about out of
Yeah.
time. I
Okay.
appreciate, you coming on. Good luck
Of
with
course.
everything that you got going,
Thank
and
you.
I
Thank
hope
you
to
so
hear
much.
from you soon.